Hello, and welcome everyone to a mystical journey to the Sacred Sites Global Summit, where we will journey to beautiful sacred sites with healers, shamans, scientists, doctors, wisdom keepers, and coaches to gain wisdom and healing to self, the collective, and our divine Mother Earth. During the course of this event, you will learn that a sacred site is not only an external place or structure, but also your own body. You may have heard of the term, your body is a temple. Therefore, we will also journey inwards to access our internal sacred sites, for example, our sacred heart. You will hear experts talk about their own healing journeys and the work they're doing to raise awareness and consciousness of individuals, the collective, as well as raising the vibrations of our great spiritual mother, Gaia, to create more joy, peace, and abundance for all sentient beings on our beautiful and divine planet, our home. I'm your host and the creator of this event, Ami Sohi. And before we begin, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Jocelyn Starfeather for her tremendous mentorship and guidance during the creation of this summit, without whom I would not be able to present today. I'm also very grateful to all my family and friends for their unconditional love and support throughout my journey. And last but not least, I am very grateful to all of you for taking the time and having the courage to be here today. So thank you. Without further ado, I'm very excited and thrilled to present Sheila Hill. Sheila is an intuitive life coach and spiritual guide. She is a way shower, light worker, and quantum healer. She is an activated starseed and guide for Ascension. With all the labels out of the way, Sheila's passion is helping others connect with their divine self, to guide them through the process of shedding the aspects of themselves that are untrue and embodying more of their own truth, i.e., their light, in every now. After her own awakening in 2012, Sheila's life fell apart in many ways, only to make room to bring forth her own connection to self, source, and the greater plan for all of humanity. She has walked, run, crawled her way through her own awakening and ascension journey, and continues to share her knowledge, enlightened truth, and access to all that is every day. So Sheila, welcome. That's amazing, what you've been through, your own awakening. It's a great honor and pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. Excuse me.
You're welcome, Sheila. So Sheila's topic for today is awakening, embodiment, and ascension, the 3 stages of the journey. So Sheila, I'd like to begin with by asking you to share with us your own personal journey, your own awakening. So can you maybe summarize, for the audience about your own personal journey?
Sure. So, excuse me, I was what we would call like dead asleep for most of my life. I had fairly traumatic childhood, as many of the spiritually awakened people did. It was a part of the soul contracts that we came into. And then I took on this persona. It was a part of, the inner child preservation piece, where I was the people pleaser. I was the good daughter, the good employee, the good student. I followed all the rules, and I morphed myself into this version of what reality needed me to be. And then in 2006, my dad passed away. In 2011, my mom passed away. And in early 2013, my marriage ended. And that was the complete undoing of that version of Sheila that I had hustled to maintain for my entire life. Through that time, I battled mental illness. I had depression, anxiety. I was addicted to alcohol and cigarettes, as well as sort of playing with the medications in my own way outside of the prescription in order to kind of keep myself going. And that was all sort of like a closet thing. I had gained a lot of weight over the years. I was probably about 80 pounds heavier than I am now. Again, it's all a product of being completely dishonoring to who my authentic self was, and hustling and participating and molding myself into what reality expected, or what I believed reality expected me to be. So there was sickness, illness, disease, mental health issues, all the things. But at the same time, I was the wife of a very successful executive. We lived in a beautiful home in suburbia. I was the president of the PTA at the kids' school, bake sales, I was doing all the things and making my life look like how I thought it was supposed to look. But I was drowning and I was dying. And I don't know that I was actually ever happy living as that inauthentic version of me. So in December 2012, which I can now go back and understand that there was another aspect of me, my more galactic self, that came online at that time, which was a big part of the starseed package for many people that awoke around that December 2012 time. So that aspect of me came in, and my marriage fell apart. I hit rock bottom, which was actually my awakening. And it took until probably about 2014, 2015, before I actually consciously embarked on a journey that you would call the spiritual path. The time in between, like 2012 and 2000, we'll call it 15, that was about me trying to figure out, like, just how to be a single parent and working out all those kinds of things, trying to just piece my life together literally 1 minute at a time, until I guess I had built up and healed and shed enough of the old me to be able to start to have any kind of light or enlightenment that there might be something more to why this all happened to me. And that was the beginning of my spiritual journey. And then I was shot out of a cannon from there until now.
Wow, amazing journey. I know a lot of people in 2012, and also the last 3 years, my personal journey as well started the last 3 years during the Corona time, you know, everything falling apart, and then, you know, the lockdowns and pandemic, and so it's like shedding. I've also been doing a lot of shedding, and like you said, you know, getting rid of the old. I think the universe, there's a purpose, there's a reason why things happen the way they do happen, and when it's all about timing, divine timing. So shedding the old and making room for the new to enter our space. Amazing.
Yes.
Wow. You talk about the 3 stages of the journey. So can you tell us more about these 3 stages?
Yeah, so maybe just to backtrack a little bit, I don't know in what order this is going to come into your summit. So we are going through a global expansion in consciousness right now, where we are shifting from a 3rd dimensional, 4th dimensional reality into a 5th dimensional reality, as Gaia is no longer hosting 3D, 4D upon her anymore. So there was the crew that woke up in December 2012 that have been sort of doing the boots on the ground work. Then there's a whole other collective of people that, as you say, have woken up in the last 3 years. So there was so much more to the narratives that played out in the last 3 years than what was shown to us in the surface on many, many levels. But that being that the highest level was, it was a catalyst for another great awakening for humanity. So there've been a number of sort of benchmarks along the way, many before 2012. And I dare say we're still sort of in the thick of it when we talk about what's happened in the last 3 years. We're still in it. Because of course, the more crazy things get, the more loud things get, the more people are catalyzed to ask questions, and then to begin to journey within themselves and ask questions about themselves too. So that is all, everything that is happening is perfect. No matter how the ego doesn't necessarily like the look or the feel of any of it, it is all perfect. So what we're going through is called the ascension process. We are ascending our physical body into a fifth dimensional vessel, a fifth dimensional vehicle for the soul. Up until now, we have operated primarily from our ego identity, a third dimensional body operating as the ego, pretty much oblivious to the fact that we even have a soul or why we're here, or like not many people, most people that we call the unawakened, which we're all of us at one point. We were operating from a place of just complete oblivion to the fact that we were a soul having this human experience. Well, now the whole thing is going to be inverted, where we are going to be a soul that dominates the avatar as the human being. But the human being vessel as the physical body needs to be a fifth dimensional vehicle in order to allow the entire soul to inhabit it. Mm-hmm. So the process is that we are going to absolve ourselves, clear, heal, release all of our wounds, traumas, and our programming to make more room within the body to allow for the more of the soul to drop in and inhabit the body. This is how we take our physical vessel with us into the fifth dimension, New Earth. So I talk about it as sort of, there's two roads, but three pieces to it, which you were alluding to. And that is that there's the awakening process, which is more of a conscious mind space thing, where you become aware to deeper levels of truth, whatever that might be. It could be about you, the way my awakening was, where my whole life got ripped out from me. Or it could be what we've gone through in the last 3 years, where there's a million versions of what is true, and all of them are, and none of them are all at the same time. Some people awaken to connection with the angelic realm. Some people use plant medicine in order to activate their awakening. Whatever it is that you go through that is the catalyst for your awakening, it's not a one and done. You're not asleep and then awake. You're asleep, and I don't mean that as in any kind of derogatory term. You're asleep and then you awaken to the awakening process. Because going through the awakening it's like a ladder that you climb. You learn about yourself, and then you learn more about yourself, and then you learn even more about yourself, and then you learn about your family, and then you learn that your family and your friends are all just actors in the play so that you can learn more about yourself. And then you learn about reality, and then there's more to learn about that. So the awakening process is more of, I would say, like a cognitive process. Then we shift into embodiment. And embodiment is where we take our version of spirituality, whatever that is, however we identify, whatever it is that we have learned, and we move that into the body at a cellular level. Awakening is a DNA activation. Our body, no, let me correct that. Our soul lives within our DNA. It doesn't live up here, although the greater aspect of us is etheric that is waiting to drop in. But once it comes into the physical body, it's in your DNA. The codes of your unique soul divine expression live within your DNA. Your soul's divine mission, the template that you hold, the reason that you came here, it's all within your DNA. Awakening is a DNA activation. Okay. So some people awaken due to certain events, and some people don't awaken due to certain events because they don't hold the codes within their DNA to be able to hold that level of frequency of truth. So when we look at the journey from awakening to embodiment to ascension, the awakening process is more cognitive. The embodiment process is embodying the frequency, keys, and codes for whatever it is that you have learned in your spiritual path or your awakening process, and bringing it into the body. When you're bringing it into the body, you're bringing it in at a cellular level to turn on more of your DNA. The light comes in, light being solar light from the grand central sun, light from our galactic family, light as in knowledge and information that you have learned. Anything that is a higher frequency than where you were is considered light. So we bring that light in on a cellular level. At a cellular level, that light moves its way in and shoots out anything that is not in accordance with that new value. So any density, wounds, traumas, programs, and cellular memories that are held in the body that are more dense than the light that's come in will be pushed out. And this is where we get ascension symptoms, emotionality, wired, tired, hungry, not hungry, digestive issues, headaches, toothaches, all the things that happen is because your body is actually being recoded at a cellular level in every now moment when you are in the embodiment process. So there's lots and lots of people that are awake that think, oh, well, I was asleep and now I'm awake and now I'm done. And there is so much more because you have to keep going up that awakening ladder, because in that awakening, you are offering to yourself opportunities to embody more. And the more that you embody, the more you turn on your DNA, which is your ascension vehicle. It is your light body. It is your multidimensionality. Science refers to beyond 12 or 21, or I don't know. Science refers to some value of your DNA strand as being junk. It's because it's undiscovered by the third dimensional medical scientific field. There is no junk DNA. You're walking your way up that ladder because that is your embodiment process. That is your multidimensionality. So you have your awakening, which is just like a whole cloud of information. And then you start bringing that information into the body, which is, it's the cellular thing that happens, but it's also a call to walk the talk. So if you become aware that there really fundamentally are only two frequencies available, fear and love, and you are aware of that, and you start to cognize how in your life you're choosing fear over love, and you're seeing it play out in the world, then when you're embodying that, what you're embodying is the ask of you to begin to walk the path of, I'm going to choose love over fear in every now moment. And that turns on more and more of the DNA that is your divine soul's blueprint, because your soul doesn't know anything about fear or lack, right? Or sickness, illness, disease. Any of those things have got nothing to do with the soul. Those are human programs. Aging, a human program. There are so many of them that we are going through the embodiment phase to clear and cleanse the body of all of these distorted frequencies and values. This is how we ascend. In this process, the embodiment triggers an opening of the heart. And the heart, like your heart chakra. Your heart chakra expands the more that you are able to hold higher values of frequency within the body, until your heart becomes a portal and a gateway. We talk about portals and gateways and grid workers that are out working on the land. And I don't know a lot about it because that wasn't a part of my mission, outside of the human things that Sheila does to support the mission. But we have portals and gateways that are sort of out there, but we each have our own portal for ascension. And that is in the frequency of your heart. So your heart opens and all your guck comes out, and you're emotional and you're sad and you're grieving and you're going through your dark nights of the soul. And I call this sort of like your human garage sale. When you catalyze yourself into an up-leveling, typically that up-leveling comes with the basement of the level that you just merged into, which is going to ask for you to clear out a bunch more stuff. that's held in the body. So your heart expansion becomes your own ascension portal, because we are going to operate from the heart, not the root, as a higher dimensional being. The embodiment process, as it shifts the frequency at a cellular level, each cell from a programmed denser frequency cell into a higher vibrational cell, is also converting the cell from being a carbon-based molecular structure to a crystalline-based molecular structure, which you sew all those crystal cells together and you get your light body.
Okay.
There's been a lot of technical information. I said a lot of words there. Do you have any questions?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's, gosh, a very, lot of wisdom and knowledge in that. And yeah, I mean, I'm feeling like awakened just listening to you. So how do you, I know we go during the awakening, the dark night of the soul when we're being embodied. So, what tools, because I know I've been there, still going through it. And sometimes I'm like, what's happening here? What tools are there so that, or are there kind of like milestones that sort of tell us, okay, I've reached, this is when I'm awakened, and then now I'm starting the next phase of the embodiment, and then the ascension. Have you got any guidance, any tools that we can use? I mean,
so in my personal journey, because I came from the older energy, like the energy we're in right now is unprecedented. Humanity, no matter how you view them or how you view yourself, have never been more ascended as a human civilization than we are right now. But we weren't always in those energies. So in my journey, I did the awakening stuff, summited the mountain, and then tumbled my way back down the embodiment. And I'm not finished. And I wouldn't necessarily even say when I summited the mountain of the awakening process that I could sit here right now and say that I'm fully awake. Because how would you ever know? How would you ever know? So the awakening and embodiment process is, when you get there, you'll know. And at the same time, you embody so much wisdom and maturity that even when you get there and you think you know that you've arrived, you're still going to be like, yeah, probably not. Because we're here to embody the whole soul, not just what you came into your third dimensional reality with. So maybe, and I am going to get to your question, but maybe the best way for me to describe this, because I did get a little technical, is the wholeness that is your soul in its full wholeness, unfragmented, divine blueprint that is the unique expression of you, is like a size 12 foot. And you are a size 3 shoe. Size 3, 3D vessel in a 3D reality. So when we shift our body into becoming a 5th dimensional vehicle, we open up so much room in our body that more of that size 12 foot can fit into our body. But we keep going. Once you get to 5D, that's not the end of the journey. You keep ascending so that you can embody all of your soul. It gets less crunchy though, because once you absolve the body of all of its old programs, wounds, traumas, etc., and you have dissolved enough of your ego that your ego is working in tandem with your soul instead of driving the bus, the ascension process becomes more fun, more exciting, and way more easier. So we're doing the hardest part right now, which brings me back to your question. The dark night of the soul isn't a dark night of the soul at all. It's dark. I've had a few of them, but it's not the soul that is going through its darkness. It's the ego. It should be called the dark night of the ego. Because what is being catalyzed in that moment, again, the human garage sale, where the soul stands up and says, we're having to clean a house here. The soul knows what it's doing because it has the instructions that you set before you came in, your divine plan. So when you've awakened enough, whatever that is, when you've embodied enough, whatever that is, and you're still kind of sludging around with some stuff in your body and some crappy thoughts and maybe some silly beliefs about yourself, the soul will at times stand up and go, no, we're cleaning house. We're going to have a big spring cleaning. This is what I call the human garage sale. And that will catalyze what we call the dark night of the soul. But what it is it is a massive purging of programming out of the body, which sends the body into sometimes flu-like symptoms, sickness, disease, dis-ease in the body. And it sends the ego into sort of a depressed state. You know, there's hopelessness, there's depression, there's a lot of darkness, because what you're purging is all of your own internal darkness, but it was like a dial that went from 1 to 10 really fast. This is what the dark night of the soul experience is. And sadly, when you're in that, the only way out is through. The only way out is through. And I would love to be able to say, and I will offer, if you can at all hold any thoughts whatsoever that this process and how dark and dense and crappy you feel is serving you, that will help. But I dare say, in the experiences that I have had in those dark night experiences, it's really hard to reach for anything other than, I think I'm going to die, or I want to die, or maybe I have died. Like depending on how dark you get in those finite moments. I do understand realistically, it's a little challenging to sort of reach for the light and go, oh, but this is just happening because my soul loves me. I get it. Supporting the body, salt baths, lots of good hydration, eating good quality food, something simple like making sure that you have a shower every day and clean your space. Because if you are releasing a lot of density and darkness, which is just an absence of light, I'm not playing into that sort of dualistic space, but if you are shedding your stuff and then climbing into the same bed or not getting out of bed for days on end, then you're shedding it and rolling around in it all at the same time. And it makes it a little bit more difficult. So a lot of the really simple human things, like having a shower, washing your hair, which is your crown, which is, you know, your hair is your wisdom. It holds a lot of stuff. Cleaning your sheets, drinking well, journaling. Journaling has been my go-to my entire process ever since 2012 to today. My journal is where I have conversations with God. It is where I pour my heart out. It is where I absolve myself of looping thoughts that are keeping me from sort of moving forward. You know, when you're blogging in your head, journaling is really, really important. Getting out in nature, going for a walk. All of the things, ironically, that are fairly simple and free are available to you to be able to help support yourself and rescue yourself through the awakening process. There's probably a ton more things. You know, I didn't mention meditation. By all means, if meditation feels good to you, then do that. But as I said, sometimes you're just in it up to here, and meditation just doesn't feel like something that you can get to, you know, when you're in that space. So I would say that the dark night experience is sort of like, that's when you're going through a big chunk of clearing. But right now, where we are in these energies, we're all going through that on a minuscule scale all day, every day. For 24/7, we are always going through this process where we are taking on more light and clearing and dissolving and releasing density from within the body, because it's the body that is ascending. So, if the dial is turned up to a 1 or 2, then you still kind of get through your day. But then there's days where the dial's turned up to a 5 or 6 and you're like, oh my God, I don't think I can cope. If it's at a 10, you're going through sort of what we call the dark night of the soul experience. And it's really, we talk about self-love and self-care, and it's become a little bit cliche and a little bit of a fad. The caring for yourself and loving yourself in whatever way you find yourself in any given moment, that is like the security blanket for this entire process. The more that you can cultivate that love and acceptance and hold thyself in every now moment, no matter how crappy you feel, no matter how crappy your thoughts are, no matter how well you are navigating this, self-love is the answer. And you have to cultivate it. Mm-hmm. It's not like a manicure or a pedicure or a lunch. It's how you are able to sacredly hold yourself in the space you find yourself in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. I mean, yeah, that's great what you've just shared, just simple things like taking a shower, having lots of water, hydrating yourself, just going to nature, walking. Yeah, simple things and free, there's available to us for free. And yes, the self-love, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to do more of that myself as well, just giving myself a hug, for example, yeah, and then also just saying to myself, I'm love and light. That's who I am, that's the core of me. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful and powerful shares there. Thank you, Sheila.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also going through this kind of awakening embodiment, and the friends that I've had for, I don't know, 20 years. And just this weekend I was with a friend, but I don't know. I mean, just listening to her, it was like the same old stories, like weren't serving me. And I was actually getting headaches, and I'm trying to speak my truth, and just say how I feel. But have you got any tips on how we can, these relationships that we have and, friends from 20 years ago, 25 years ago, how do we actually diplomatically, with love, politely say that this is not serving me anymore, because I'm moving on?
So this is very, very, very common after you start going through your awakening embodiment process, in that as your frequency shifts, your old reality, your maybe where you live, where you work, the people you spend time with, they're in the frequency that you used to meet them most of the time. But then you start to shift and your frequency is here. And now when you meet with those people, you're like, oh my God, this conversation's so heavy. Oh my God, they're talking about the news again. Oh, they're still talking about what happened in 1977. How come? Why are we still talking about this? And it can be challenging to navigate those relationships. So there's like a circle that comes with that. And that the best and most honoring thing that you can do when you come into an awareness that there's a relationship or something that is challenging you is to take your space. Own how you feel and don't make it about them, because they're just doing them. They're not wrong. They're not toxic. There's nothing wrong with them being what we would call maybe asleep. Again, it takes on a derogatory term, but they're just doing them for where they are at. So don't make it about them, but make it more about how you can find your own voice and empower yourself to take ownership for how you feel in the relationship. And a lot of times words don't even need to be said. You can just like let the friendship dissolve and leave the door open. Sometimes when we have these conversations, it's particularly if we're feeling a little bit triggered and you're working with someone who is operating more so from their egoic space, that having the conversation just creates more crunchiness between you that really is hard to heal later. You know, if you're going to sit the friend down and say, well, you know what, I'm going through my awakening and you're not, so I got to cut off our friendship because you talk about stuff that I don't want to talk about anymore and you give me a headache when we spend time together. Oh my God, that's so, it would be terrible to do that, right? So just let the thing dissolve. Let the amount of time that you spend with them shorten. Let how often you spend time with them become longer and longer. Because what will happen is when you reach a certain frequency and you've fully anchored in that new value of yourself, you can go anywhere and spend time with anybody and it won't bother you in the least. Because you will be operating from such a secure foundation, such a strong inner knowing. Your field will be very strong, that you will be able to operate out there in the what we call the 3D from such a place of love, curiosity, and being the observer. You'll be able to hold all three of those. Like, oh, she's still talking about that. I love her for that. I love that that's where she's at. And I love that there's so much more for her to explore because I've explored it in myself. And curious, like, oh, this is what humans are doing today. Isn't that interesting? You know, and just being the observer where you take your light, your frequency, and the richness of your inner world out into the world, and it allows you to engage with anyone, anywhere, anytime, without any crunchiness whatsoever. But it takes time and practice to get to that space. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be every day that you can hold that. So the most loving thing that you can do when you start to feel that relationships are getting a little bit uncomfortable or crunchy is, with love, give them space. Give the relationship space. Leave the door open that should this person evolve, because everybody that's here right now is all going through some level of evolution, that, you know, maybe you're going to have some time away, but then you're going to meet each other again. And that would be beautiful too. So we have to be as gentle with ourselves and then offer that gentleness and love and compassion to everyone else as well. And just go, you know what, we're not meeting each other in a great place that feels great anymore. But that doesn't make you bad, and it doesn't make you wrong, and it doesn't make me wrong. I'm just on my path and you're on yours, and that's okay. And just sort of metaphorically leave the door open. And quite often it doesn't even require a conversation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's all part of it.
Okay. Well, yeah, that really helps. Thank you for that. Yeah,
you're welcome.
For sharing that. Yeah. So yeah, what I'm also trying to do is just bless the relationship, you know, thank the friend, bless the friend, you know, because these experiences are there also to for our growth, right? All the experiences that we're having, the good and the bad ones. And I always sort of say the bad experiences are the most powerful one, because they really help
they really teach you.
Yeah, really teach and expand our heart, expand our soul, the spiritual growth. You know, we get a lot from that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. The other piece to that is, and I sort of passed over it a little bit earlier when I was explaining something else, is that every single person that you engage with is an actor in your play to either love you, teach you, or reflect back to you something about yourself from the highest place. Mm-hmm. So the fact that as we go through this collective evolution in consciousness, where almost every single person on the planet is going to go through some kind of change, there's going to be what will feel like a really rapid dissolving of the old life. You know, when I went through my awakening, my dad died, my mom died, my marriage ended, like my whole life just kind of dissolved within a very short amount of time. And then I was in this limbo for a long time trying to figure out who I am. And I'm not even entirely sure that I could say that I'm there. I've just gotten really comfortable with navigating the unknown and walking my life from a place of faith instead of needing to know pretty much anything, which is really what's being asked. So to understand that there are people that played a role in your life as an actor in your play, that now that you're evolving, that role is no longer required. That's also part of it, right? Like we talk about so much in this sort of unawakened paradigm of loyalty and relationships, and the longer the relationship is, then that's like the more you have to keep it, because the longer you've had it, the more you have, it has to stay. And really what we're going through right now is for you to get really clear and ask yourself, do these relationships still fulfill what they need to fulfill within you? Do they bring you joy? Do you feel loved? Do you feel safe? Do you feel heard? Do you feel honored in this relationship? And if it's a no to pretty much any of those things, then that relationship needs to dissolve. But like you said, dissolve it with love. Thank you for showing me. And again, it doesn't need to be a verbal conversation. Thank you for being a part of my life. But this is the split in the road now, and maybe we'll meet again someday. I am so grateful that you were a part of my play.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's so true. And I love what you said, that when you're at that stage of ascension, you know, you can just be with anyone. You can be out there and just be an observer, right? Without anything affecting your field, really. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just an observer.
So that brings about, because you're mentioning, I'll just further that teaching. There's a lot of people that refer to themselves as empaths. And there's a lot of victimhood that is played out in the empath collective community. I can't be around so-and-so because their energy affects me. I can't go to any of the big box stores, you know, Walmart, Costco, wherever. I go to a mall where there's a lot of people because the energy affects me. I pick up stuff off of certain people at work, you know, that kind of thing. It's a very victimized place for the people that are aware that they have empathic abilities and their ability to tune into energy, which is our sentient nature as a soul. Everybody's an empath. It's just some people are aware of it and some aren't. But here's how it works. When you look at that experience, that empathic experience through the lens of energy, you are holding density in your body. No matter how great you are, maybe you've been spiritually awakened your whole life, you still have been a part of the 3D Matrix program. You've still watched TV and eaten processed foods, and like you've done things in your life that are held within your body as a frequency. When your higher self, based on your soul design, has sort of turned on the light switch that you are now going to go through your awakening process, everywhere you go is another opportunity for you to awaken. So, energy. You go to a certain place or spend time with a certain person who, let's say, is very angry. There's an angry vibe. And then you come home and you're like, oh my God, like, I just feel so like angry and sort of grumpy. And I must have caught that from so-and-so. What's actually happened is that person who is operating from a place of anger, the anger frequency that they are emitting is hitting your body and pulling your anger out into your field so that you can be aware of it. Because energy, like, attracts like. Frequencies look to harmonize. That's physics. That's what energy does. So anytime that you spend time with someone who is sad, who is operating from lack, who is angry, is highly unconscious, and you come away from that experience going, wow, like I really caught some of their stuff, what you're experiencing is your stuff that is similar to their stuff that they pulled out of you. because there's only one of us here. We are all fractals of the one God consciousness, walking each other home together. So these people that are unawake, that operate from some of the more denser consciousnesses, such as fear and grief and lack and anger, what they're actually doing is their energetic frequency in harmony with us is helping to pull those energies out of us so that we can be aware of them, so that we can cleanse and clear them. There is nothing about being an empath that makes you a victim of other people's energy. Absolutely nothing. It is a gift. Now, if you have hit your limit, by all means, it's time for self-care. Get back in the cave. Get back into your own space. Don't try and do lunch with your densest friend, go to Walmart and Costco and a mall, and then go out for dinner that night with friends and not expect that you're going to hit your limit, right? So while I'm saying that there's no real such thing as being a victim of being an empath, your responsibility as being an empath and a responsibility for your own energy and your own field and your own process of awakening and embodiment is that you say, I'm going to do one of those things a day because I know my limit. I'm going to take my higher vibrational, love-filled, very rich self out into the world and allow my frequency to engage with others. And then I'm going to come back home and fill myself back up again. That's spiritual responsibility. Rather than going around saying, I can't go here and I can't go there, and this one puts their stuff on me. And that's a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I love what you said about the spiritual responsibility. Yeah. So we should be responsible and accountable for,
Yes.
for this great awakening, right? That's happening. Yeah. Wow. Such powerful messages. Thank you so much. Such, wisdom in what you've said. So before we close, do you have anything else you want to share with us, with the audience, like any upcoming projects, programs, and how do people actually get in touch with you?
So I can be found, my website's super easy to remember. So it's sheilahill.ca. And on my website, you will find the link to my Facebook community, to my YouTube channel where I have a whole bunch of videos. I also do one-on-one sessions, and I have a Patreon group, which is a monthly membership group. It's very, very affordable. And we meet 4 times a month across all time zones, like one each time. We'll capture a few time zones, where we do live Zoom calls with replays available through the Patreon group, where I support the Ascension process. People are welcome to come and to whatever level they feel comfortable to share what they're going through, because oftentimes whatever they're sharing is very helpful to the people in the group that didn't say what they were going through. So the group dynamic always helps. And I'm happy to support and guide through that process. And we do guided meditations. I teach them quantum clearing commands. We talk about really out there esoteric metaphysical stuff too. If somebody's watched a movie and they're like, I really didn't get the inference to this, like, let's chat about what you think that really meant. So we spend time together really in the container, supporting each other, expanding each other, loving each other. And, it's a space that I created because it was something I wished I had. I just kind of floated around on my own, which I understand was my own divine design. But I just kind of floated around on my own for the last sort of 11 years. And I wish that I had had a space that was affordable and consistent and safe for me to really talk about the things that were coming up that I didn't understand, and find new ways of understanding myself and the world. So there's my Patreon group. That's the most inexpensive yet enriching experience that I have, that I'm offering right now. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, my website, and on Facebook.
Okay. Wow. so much that you're, yeah, helping, sharing, and providing wisdom, yeah, to the world.
Yeah.
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 Very thankful and grateful. And so for everyone, please check out Sheila's website. The link will be available beneath the video here. So do go and check her out and all that she's doing, and get in touch with Sheila. So Sheila, thank you so much. Any other last closing remarks you'd like to make?
Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle. There's no rush, and there's no way to rush this process. Surrender is key, because your soul knows what you're doing, what your process is. Your higher self is guiding the process. You can't get this wrong. Ultimately, you can't get it wrong. You can go on little detours and maybe cause a little bit of suffering and aggravation for yourself, but you can't get it wrong. There are a million ways to get it right. And just follow your heart, follow your intuition. If it means buying crystals, then buy crystals. If it means meditating, then meditate. If it means playing with your dog, then play with your dog. Just follow your own guidance. Know that it isn't a process that can be rushed, and be gentle with yourself. It's not always easy. So just be gentle.
Mm-hmm. Wow, thank you. Very powerful messages. Thank you so much, Sheila.
Thank you for having me, Amy.
I really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm sure the audience did too. So thank you again, and have a lovely day. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.